Hey guys, for the Film Fan Club, I'm Sam Carrico here to talk about the Season 7 finale of Game of Thrones. As always with our TV reviews, we like to go a little bit more in-depth, so there will be spoilers here. If you saw my review of the previous episode, I had a pretty mixed reaction to that. There was a lot of things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, which is really unfortunate because it's the penultimate episode, which is usually the biggest and best episode of every season. But I think this episode really played more so to the writer's strengths, and it featured a lot more kind of character moments, just really great dialogue between characters. A lot of characters we haven't seen come face to face ever, or in a while at least, and this was a much bigger improvement, I think, than last week. They waste no time starting us off in King's Landing. We get to see Tyrion showing up with Jon Snow. This is the first time that we've ever seen Theon and Jon Snow in King's Landing, so that's kind of cool. But I mean, we've seen so much firsts this season that it kind of loses its impact after a while. Like, I was like, oh yeah, Daenerys was at the wall for the very first time in the show. You know, that was like an afterthought thinking about last episode. But we get to see them all come face to face. Everyone's getting kind of gathering in the dragon pit, which is really kind of cool, just to get a little bit of the history of that. I mean, whenever the dragons used to be just this massive force that flew all over Westeros, there are a lot of them, and then eventually they were just kind of like sickly little dog-looking creatures. We get a lot of that, and then we get a lot of, again, great dialogue between, we get to see Brienne of Tarth come face to face with the Hound for the very first time since season 4, and we get to see Brienne of Tarth talk to Jaime later on. We get to see Bronn talk to Tyrion. We get to see Podrick talk to Tyrion. We get to see, you know, it's really fun. All these people, you realize that there's so much rich history in this show that's so diverse and so well written, that there's just so many layers to every single scene that's going on. It's really showed off here well. Even though I don't really think this was a really, it was a silly mission, I think, to go get a white and then bring it and try and get a truce with Cersei so that way they could all fight for the same cause, because Cersei's such an idiot and she doesn't see very far in front of her. But I think that this meeting was really handled well. We get to see whenever Cersei shows up, she tries to maintain her composure and be this badass queen, but Daenerys, like, out badasses, the queen by showing up with her 2 dragons, and not to mention we previously saw her unsullied and Dothraki army and the huge armada. So Daenerys is showing off. She still is a force to be reckoned with, regardless of how the outcome of this meeting is. So we get to see her show up with the dragons, and there's a little bit of bickering going on, not only with Cersei and Daenerys. She's like, you're late, but we get to see the Hound come face to face with his brother for the first time in like forever, and he's like, you know what's coming. You know what's always been coming. So it's like Clegane Bowl confirmed next season. Holy shit, I cannot wait. So that's just a lot. And then also we get to see Euron kind of tease Theon a little bit, and he's like, hey, I have your sister, but nothing really comes of it because Tyrion and Jon kind of put an end to that. They're like, hey, we got to talk about what is important, and it's the White Walkers. So the Hound brings out the White, and at first it's like, holy crap, is it not gonna move? I really hope it didn't die or something, because that would have a huge waste of a mission, but luckily it's not dead. And we previously saw Cersei try not to flinch at the sight of dragons, but man, she flinches at this White. When it comes straight at her, she's like, holy crap, The sight of that alone almost convinces her to help them right then and there, but it is all on the condition that Jon Snow remains neutral between the 2 queens. And then he's already like, well, crap, I just said that I would be Daenerys's, guy in the last episode, so I can't go back on that. And then so Cersei's like, well, that's it then. And I don't know why Daenerys can't just be like, hey, I relinquish you from that vow. No, you don't have to do that anymore. Okay, we're good. And then problem solved. But I guess Cersei previously said, I wouldn't trust you, but still, it just seemed like it was just kind of a contrived problem. But nevertheless, Cersei's out of there, so it's up to Tyrion to go and talk to her. And this was another one of those great moments where Peter Dinklage and Lena Headey just get to just act out these really tense scenes, and they act the hell out of it. I really believe that she's just so hurt, and she feels so betrayed with all these conflicted emotions with, like, you killed my father, talking to Tyrion, and the way that she feels he's responsible for her children's death, even though she knows that he's not responsible for Joffrey's. She blames him for Mycella's and Tommen's, and Myrcella I kind of understand because he arranged for her to go to Dorne. But Tommen was entirely Cersei's fault, okay? There's no getting around that. She killed the one that Tommen loved, so therefore Tommen felt so sad that he committed suicide. That's Cersei's fault, I don't know how she blames Tyrion for that, but really, you just really buy into that, though, with the performances, and they do a great job. And Tyrion, he's like, hey, okay, what? Kill me. You're gonna kill me? You want me dead? Kill me. And but she can't do it. She just realizes she can't do it, and that was a great kind of moment for her and for Tyrion, because he realizes, holy crap, in a weird, twisted way, my sister kind of loves me, She wouldn't have me killed. Man, that's love. So it almost seems like Tyrion is able to convince Cersei, but unfortunately, it's never that easy with Game of Thrones. So the Targaryen forces all kind of go back to Dragonstone and kind of figure out their plans, and Daenerys and Jon are going to sail north and then ride north all together for the best kind of optics, which is, I don't know why they're concerned about optics and the war against the dead, but whatever, that's what they decide is the best way. It's mostly so that way they can get on the love boat. Tyrion has this awesome confrontation with Jon where he just just bears his soul, and he finally gets to seek some redemption, I think. And I really loved getting to see these two, because they had their really tense confrontation earlier when they first saw each other, and he's like, if I could kill you, I would, but I'm not going to, but just because for what you did for Sansa. And then we go from that in this episode to for what I can forgive you for, I do. And that was just a beautiful kind of moment, because we really kind of see, and I think Jon sees, and they show it really well, that Theon is a different person. He is, in a world where people are, almost everybody's a murderer, he's become about as good a person as he can be, and I think he really does get redemption through that scene with Jon alone, which is why I think it was really unfortunate that they go into this stupid kind of tacked on, like, hey, let's go save Yara, which I like. It should have ended with him, going and rallying the guys and going off to save Yara, but instead there's just this random-ass dude who's just like, no! Let's fight about it. And then they fight about it, and it just reminds me of Back to the Future, where there's the scene where George McFly has just defeated Biff Tannen, and he's dancing with his girl, Lorraine, whatever her name, Marty's mom, and there's this one random dude who just shows up, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna steal your girlfriend, and then it almost seems like he's lost, but then he has to build up the courage to punch the guy and, win the day. And that's what Theon does here. And it's even worse than that, because the guy kicks him in the groin whenever they're fighting, and then he smiles because he's a eunuch, so it really doesn't affect him being kicked in the groin. And he kicks him and he smiles, and then he's like, ah, and then that's when Theon defeats and beats the guy. And it's just, oh my gosh, we go from awesome dialogue and writing and two characters just bearing their souls and seeking redemption and forgiveness and getting it in the last scene to this cringy, fight, kick in the groin smile, and it's so silly. I don't know why it couldn't have just ended with Theon going off to save Yara, but so the whole Theon part of this episode was really kind of mixed for me, but I did like a lot of of Alfie Allen's performance. He did a really good job with his performance in this episode. Another thing that was really 50-50 for me was Lord Baelish's death and the way that was portrayed. I get that they're trying to kind of surprise us with the sudden reveal that Arya and Sansa were playing him the whole time, but we never got to see that development. I bought into it with Arya, except for the last two episodes. They pretty much spent the whole time showing how he's playing her and not the other way around. But at least I can buy into it a little bit with Arya, because we've seen that development in previous seasons. We haven't really seen that with Sansa, so I think it's something that we really needed to see here to really buy into her growing as a character, and suddenly having her just having learned all these lessons. I get that she learned them over the course of the years, but it would have been nice to have taken a little bit more note of that as writers and as showrunners, to show that to the audience a little bit more rather than all at once here. But the way that Sophie Turner and the actor who portrays Baelish, they did just a great job with the material that they were giving. You got to see Baelish go through all the different kind of stages of how he would try and finagle his way out of this, and he's just there's no way out of it. And he kind of realizes that, and it ends up with him pleading on his knees for Sansa not to have him killed. And that's not enough, and she just does it. And I love the scene that they planted the seeds of this earlier whenever he's talking about what's the worst reason that anyone could want to do something, and I try and figure it out that way and see how well it makes sense based off of that. And then she does it, she plays that and flips it around on him here and does that to him, and man, again, his performance and then Sophie Turner's performance, albeit the logical, fallacies or the kind of rushed story development or character development rather, their performances in this episode were top notch, and especially given that's the last time we're going to see Littlefinger, it was a great performance as an actor to go out on. So Jaime's pretty much getting his generals all ready to go towards north, just pretty much like Jon was, but when Cersei overhears him doing that, she's like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm getting everybody, we're gonna go north, and, we're figuring out how to go help them. And she's like, oh, you're so stupid, and Jaime realizes, holy crap, my sister's crazy. And this is something that I kind of figured would happen. I never really thought that Cersei, again, this was a pretty stupid mission to begin with. Cersei was never going to be convinced to help Jon and Daenerys. There's no way. She's not going to side with people who would eventually want to take the throne from her, no matter how logical of an argument they lay out. And Jaime's a logical person, so obviously he would be on board, and I figured as much. But you really get to see their differences kind of come to light here, and it was a really great scene between the two of them, because as he even says, I'm the last person you have left. You have no father, you have no children, you have no husband, pretty much whatever. But I'm the only other person you have. And she's like, oh, well, there's another, which makes me think that maybe she is pregnant, because I was previously on the fence about whether she was actually pregnant or maybe she was just using the notion of being pregnant to her advantage. But I think that she's actually pregnant based on this episode and in her conversation with Jaime here. And then eventually comes down to, he's like, okay, I'm going to go help. If you're going to kill me, kill me. And then I think that's what it came down to pretty much. I don't know if he's leaving to go help. It's not explicitly clear, but that's kind of what the impression that I got. And then she even kind of goes, she nods at Sir Gregor. She's like, she does the thing. That pretty much means kill him. And then he pulls out his sword even. And Jaime's like, I don't believe you. And he's like, she doesn't kill him. She doesn't kill him. We finally realize that Cersei has a limit that she'll go to. She won't even kill Tyrion. She won't kill her brother Jaime. She won't kill those that are her family, which is something that was refreshing to find in this episode, because, again, she's such a despicable person. We need to kind of have characters have those limits, those moral grounds that figure out just how much of a moral compass they have, because they have to have some sort of one to that way, just make them interesting. And Cersei Lannister is a very interesting character. And again, Lena Headey does a great job, and I can't pronounce the actor who plays Jaime's name, but he does a fantastic job in this scene as well. We kind of get this overlooking shot of Westeros, or of King's Landing specifically, of snow falling down, and it shows that winter is truly here, which is maybe would have been a better tagline for next season, Winter is Here, because we don't get it until the season finale of season 7, that winter has actually come to King's Landing. Snowfall is actually kind of, we see it in the Dragon Pit, we see it through the castle, we see it, it kind of just shows the gravity of how things have changed, and and even kind of poetically dark times are emerging, and specifically dark times, with the army of the dead upon us. And speaking of snow, Jon Snow isn't a snow at all, and he's not even a sand. He is a true-born Targaryen. We kind of alluded to it in the previous episode where Gilly discovered it, not Sam. But whatever, Sam takes credit and talks to Bran, and Bran figures out that Jon is Rhaegar's son. And then Sam combines that information with his information that Rhaegar annulled his marriage to the previous person and then was re-wed to Lyanna, so therefore Jon is the heir to the Iron Throne. All of this is kind of narrated over and awkwardly narrated over the sex scene between Jon and Daenerys, who are both Targaryens, true-born Targaryens, and it kind of it's going to complicate things in the sense that they're incest. And also in the sense that Jon has more of a right to the Iron Throne than Daenerys does. But ultimately, I think it'll come down to either Daenerys will die in the, close to the end, or vice versa, Jon will die, or he will be like Theon and just kind of be like, it is mine by right, but I think that she is a better leader, so I choose to elect her to be queen. About the love story, it's just never been the Game of Thrones strong point, so I didn't expect it to be with Daenerys and Jon. So no, I don't really care for it, but it makes sense for a storytelling, from a storytelling perspective. That's, where it needs to go with these two characters, but they didn't necessarily make me buy into it per se. I mean, with speaking of performances, Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke didn't give the best performances to make me buy into the love story between the two of them, but that also is the fault of the writing. But it's never been Game of Thrones' strong point. But what could be, that still, they didn't have to narrate the fact that he is a Targaryen over him having sex with a Targaryen. That's just a really weird choice. Nevertheless, this is a lot of big information that's got to come out next season, because that's a lot of stuff that Jon is heading towards. And he's not, I think he's heading towards Winterfell, so they are going to meet up with Bran at some point, and this is going to be found out next season, probably early next season, I would think even. So, I mean, a lot to still happen. But no, we can't end the season finale of Game of Thrones on the happy note of love and incest. No, we have to have dragons, ice dragons, the Night King riding an ice dragon, taking down the freaking wall. Holy crap, that was awesome. What more can you say? The Night King, he seems to maneuver that thing a lot more than Daenerys does. He's really good at it, especially it's got holes in its wings and everything, so it's like kind of like the Black Pearl as a, cursed ghost ship. I'm like, how can it move if it's got, holes through the thing that's supposed to hold air, whatever. But man, that badass dragon scene, what more can you say? The wall is down. It was awesome to see. He breathes blue fire. The Night King, it's really funny because Daenerys, she kind of has a look to her. She kind of rides the dragon. She's like, she feels, it's like, but the Night King, he just stoic the whole time on the dragon. But man, it's badass. But one thing that's a little annoying is, we see the wall come down and them go past the wall. So that means they're probably, on track to get to Winterfell as fast as Jon is. But we know that Jon's going to make it faster to Winterfell than the Night King, even though the Night King's got a dragon, and we've seen Daenerys go around the whole world in like a day with a dragon. So, but why can't the Night King do the same thing? Because plot. It's because plot, and that just seems a little cheap, but it kind of is a sense of, Game of Thrones has kind of thrown a little bit of logic out the window this season to make things happen and speed them up, and we'll get into that a little bit more, because I'd like to do a full season overview, kind of review of the whole season with Ricky sometime, and we'll kind of get into the pros and cons of everything as a whole. But overall, this episode, what a way to end the season on a high note. I cannot wait. I have to, rewatch the series from season 1, read the books or something to get my Game of Thrones fix between now and 2018, 2019 even. I don't even know when it's going to be happening, but we're going to be there when it does. So make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel and let me know what you thought of the Game of Thrones season 7 finale in the comments section below. Well, thanks for checking this video out, guys. Like I said, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel for more content like this if you're into that. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well while you're at it, at Samuel D. Carrico. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.